Hello and welcome to the Analog Leftie. My name is Elise. If you've been here for a bit, you might have seen me share my regular size traveler's company and September leather traveler's notebooks. Since they are in essence similar, I thought it might be an interesting idea to do a head-to-head comparison between the two, with the hope that it might help someone out who's deciding on which one of these to get. There are many ways I could go about this comparison, but I decided I will stick with focusing on what you get if you buy the starter kits from both brands. So let's get right into it. The Traveler's Company Traveler's Notebook comes in at around 75 Canadian dollars depending on where you get it. But if you're buying from one of their many authorized retailers or partner shops, it should be around that price. The Travelers Company website lists all of their authorized sellers and partner shops all across the globe. So these notebooks are very widely available and they come in a variety of leather colors from black, brown, camel, blue, and olive. On the other hand, the September Leather Traveler's Notebook comes in at around 35 Canadian dollars. In my first look video of this Traveler's Notebook, I talked about their website and how you may be able to order it from there, but your best bet is to get it from Amazon. And unlike the Traveler's Company ones, this is only available in brown or dark brown. The packaging on both are very similar, especially with how the boxes are constructed. The Traveler's Company one is secured by an elastic band, which you can save as a spare for your traveler's notebook. It also comes with some literature about the philosophy behind the notebook, um, the inclusions, and leather care instructions. The September leather one is secured simply by a sticker, a treasure by September leather. And as you can see, the boxes are very similar in how they are made. Now let's take a look at the inclusions for each starter set. I'm gonna set this one aside for now. So the Traveler's Company one comes in a cotton dust bag. Pardon me. And in the cotton dust bag is the leather cover. I have mine in olive. And inside the leather cover is a blank refill. They also included a spare elastic. And for the olive, they partnered with the slate blue. And if you add the other elastic that wrapped the box, that makes your spares two. And that's all the inclusions for the Traveler's Company one. Now, let's take a look at the September leather kit. Let me put this aside. Okay, so the September leather comes with the September leather one comes with a lower gauge dust bag which contains the leather cover. And in it comes the three refills. So we have a lined refill, the grid one, and a blank one. For the accessories, they included a PVC zipper pouch, a craft holder, a a jump band to increase the amount of refills you can add to the journal, a binder clip, a pen loop, and a gel pen, which actually writes pretty nicely. So, as you can see, they have been very generous with the inclusions, and they gave you everything that you may need to have an extensive go with a traveler's notebook. Now let's take a closer look at the meat and potatoes of these products, and that is the leather cover. So for the Traveler's Company one, I believe this is full grain leather. I don't know where exactly the leather is sourced from, but it is made in Thailand as the label suggests. The one I have right here is in olive, and according to their website, they use a natural dyeing method and they don't treat the leather excessively to keep the unique characteristics of the leather in every piece. The September leather cover, on the other hand, is genuine leather, which, from what I've learned from research, is a lower grade of leather than full grain. There's very little information about the sourcing of materials and manufacturing process, but they are designed and made in China. Now, putting them next to each other like this, I don't know if you'd be able to tell, but the September leather cover is ever so slightly thinner than Traveler's Company. I don't know how well that translates to the camera, but it's just a smidge thinner. The Traveler's Company one also has a smoother leather, which tells me that the hide that they use for these ones are blemish free, which gives it a more refined look. On the September leather one, you can clearly see the skin striations and the pores and stretch marks, which might be a result of the splitting process, and this actually gives the leather a more rustic look. Now, looking on the inside, let's open these two up. Right. Okay. So, the Traveler's Company one has a softer feel to it, and September leather is just a tad rougher, but it's not a huge difference. And in terms of the flexibility of the leather, might be it's difficult to demonstrate on camera, but both are actually quite supple and pliable. But the September leather one feels less dense. I don't know how to describe it, but it doesn't have the same oomph that the Traveler's Company one has. And it might be just because of it being thinner, negligibly thinner, and I'm not sure if that's the actual reason. Now, let's compare the leathers in terms of the size. So, putting them on top of each other like so, you can see that the Traveler's Company one is slightly longer, a smidge taller than September leather, but September leather is significantly wider than Traveler's Company. So, for the measurements of their closed size, Traveler's Company is 4 and 5/8 inches by 8 and 5/8 inches, if we're being generous, while September leather is 5 inches by 8.5 inches. So I'm gonna say now that you can definitely use Traveler's Company refills in the September leather and vice versa because the refills are the same size, but the difference in the leather measurements would play a part later in our comparisons. Next, let's take a look at the refill attachment bands for each. So for Traveler's Company, they have one elastic that is looped through four holes along the spine and is secured by a tin clasp. Because of the way that the elastic is looped, you can only really put one refill without extra bands. Some people would put another refill on the shorter side of the elastic, but as you can see, the shorter side isn't the same size as the regular size refill. So if you put through a refill here, it would put a lot of strain on the elastic, which might affect its longevity. Traveler's Company sells connecting rubber bands separately. I got this for around 8 Canadian dollars. But clever people also use the spare elastic that comes with the starter kit as connecting rubber bands so they don't have to spend extra. With September leather, it also has one elastic that is looped vertically and horizontally across six holes, which emulates one dedicated elastic for refills. The elastic is also thicker gauge compared to Traveler's Company, but is secured by a knot. While this seems like a less durable way to secure the elastic, one could argue that um, it will be easier to replace or repair compared to the clasp mechanism of the Traveler's Company, which is also sold separately. I think it costs around 16 Canadian dollars. And the repair kit, let me just show it to you right now, comes with separate elastics for the refills, and these ones are for the bookmarks, and that is the tin clasp. And there's a whole process of doing the repair for Traveler's Company. So yeah, for September leather, they also provided a spare connecting band with a starter kit, which significantly increases the number of inserts you can put through here to a total of 6 notebooks. Next, let's take a look at how you go about setting up both Traveler's notebooks with refills. So to make this a fair battle, I'm going to try and emulate the same setup based on what I currently have in my reserves and supplies. So anything that wasn't included in the Traveler's Company starter set would be an additional expense. Because the September leather TN came with 4 dedicated elastics per refill, let's do the same for Traveler's Company, and for that I would need 2 extra connecting bands. All right, so let's take a look at what we have right here. So for Traveler's Company, yeah, we were able to fit four refills, but as you can see, um, they just want to jut out of the leather cover because it's not wide enough to like pull back and make room for the added thickness and also cover the edges of the refills of the notebooks. And if you can tell during the setup process, it took me so long, and it was a whole thing of like slipping the rubber bands and putting it in on one refill and on the other, and putting it through the elastics and making sure that everything's stretched out so it's not like so exposed on the leather. So yeah, it's a whole thing, and you need spare elastics, and that's that for Traveler's Company. September leather, on the other hand, is created with the intention to carry four notebooks with the four elastic bands and the wider width. If we use the spare connecting band that they provided, we could also increase the number of refills to six notebooks, and they would still be covered by the leather on the edges with no problems at all. I personally do not need to carry that many notebooks on my TNs. I'm comfortable with two or three max if I'm really in need of it. But if you're someone who loves a chunky journal to carry all the different notebooks that you run, September leather can give you that experience comfortably without having to spend extra on rubber bands and MacGyver the notebooks to make sure everything fit. And also, if you are the type to take refills out of your TN when you use them, it's easier to do that when you have a dedicated slot per notebook than having multiple notebooks sharing a rubber band and then slotted through another elastic. Next, let's talk about the elastic enclosures. So, the Traveler's Company one has an elastic band that passes through the back cover and is secured with a knot. This simple setup allows you to easily adjust the tightness to accommodate the width or the thickness of the journal, or replace it when it gets worn out. It also allows for users to customize their journals by adding charms through this elastic that Traveler's Company also sells separately. September leather, on the other hand, has an elastic that goes through the spine of the leather cover and is secured by metal clasps. And it also has a leather piece um, that acts as kind of an accent statement and a barrier for um, the edges of the journal of the leather uh, against the elastic. Because of the metal clips, it'll be more difficult to make adjustments or customizations on this elastic enclosure. The enclosing band might be one of the more polarizing features of travelers' notebooks, I find. I know some people customize their Traveler's Company notebooks to have the band go through the spine because the knot at the back creates a bump when you're writing on the last few pages of your notebooks, and that becomes a nuisance when you're writing. The solution that I found is to just simply move the band so that the knot is out of the way, or just simply take out the elastic because it's easy to do that. But I guess if you have a charm on here that might be more complicated to do. While September leather has the elastic on the spine, it is the leather piece right here that creates the bump. So you have to consciously flatten it out like so before you start using it. So yeah, both systems have their own drawbacks. So it's really just up to what you prefer to deal with. I personally prefer the the placement on Traveler's Company because it's just more intuitive to open and close compared to September leather. But that's that's just my opinion. There's no right or wrong here. Oh, also another thing that I forgot to mention is that Traveler's Company has a bookmark while September Leather doesn't have one, and this bookmark is attached to the tin clasp. So, yeah, that is that. Based simply on everything that we talked about today, September Leather seems to have more going for it. It's more affordable, it has more inclusions, and the size and the elastic bands accommodate for more refills at the base level. But what Traveler's Company lacks in those areas, it makes up for in quality in the materials, the manufacturing process, and the whole ecosystem and culture that surrounds the notebook. It is the first mover in this space and has become a well loved and trusted brand. As any smart second mover would do, September Leather tried to solve all the big issues that consumers have with the Traveler's Company notebook. At the end of the day, this is all boils down to what you value as a consumer, your circumstances, and your use cases. And unless you're a purist, there's no rule saying that you can't mix things up. It's your journal, go crazy with it. All that matters is it's useful to you and it makes you happy. So, yeah, this video is already long enough, and because I've looked too deep on both journal systems, refill comparisons might be a different video if that sounds interesting to you. But I would love to know your thoughts on this particular topic. Like, do you prefer one over the other? Are you indifferent? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate your time and you for being here. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.